Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit or Zappy here, back again with Kuroko no Basket. We are on episode 9 of season 1, and in the last episode, Serene finally came up against a team that I would consider a worthy opponent, a team that's really going to make them fight hard for it, and specifically with it being a competitive match, you know what I mean, it's that much more. The pressure's on, the stakes are high, and they have the best defensive record in Tokyo, so that is, it's going to be a case of them trying to figure out how they can start racking up the points. I mean, I know that Kagami, he was able to take Tsugawa on a one-on-one, but it's just going to be a case of, I feel like Seiho are going to up their game kind of thing, and it's going to be a case of they're going to have to find another way to get points rather than just Kagami doing it all by himself, so we'll have to see if they come up with a strategy, which Hyuga, he had one. He talked about how there may be something we can do, and that hasn't come to fruition yet, so I'm excited to be able to see what they actually do with that. I'm going to have to take off these glasses because I can't see anything through them. You know what I mean? But it is what it is, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, so, Seiho, that's who we really need to beat now, because they tripled Seren's score last year when they were in it the year before, and that goes the same for Shutoku and Sen Shinkan as well. The three kings, is it the three kings of Tokyo? Something like that, I believe it. Yeah, it is the three kings of Tokyo. So yeah, this is it. We need to get past Seiho, who I believe this is the semi-finals, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, I think we can do it. Again, I've talked about my sort of way of thinking about how the which games we're going to win versus which ones we're going to lose, and since it's the top three of the championship league or whatever that can go through, it's going to be a case of either Seiho or Sen Shinkan that sort of lose their place this year. I feel like Serene are going to go through either like in second below Shotoku or in third. Because I feel like the whole thing of season 1, I believe, is to get to Inter High and then go up against Kaijo again in an actual competitive setting, an actual competitive match, and then Kaijo get their revenge, and then that's like the end of season 1. That's the way that the way my brain is thinking right now. But I think when they come up against Shotoku, they're gonna lose. So that's the way I think about it. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else to really talk about. So yeah, we're just gonna get an episode 9. If you do want to go actually watch the reaction, the link is in the description below. There's also a link to the full length there. If you do want that and not just the 10-minute version, then the link to the full length is there. But yeah, nothing else to talk about, so we're going to get in episode 9 and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 9. Right, so yeah, I wasn't expecting this, but it totally makes sense. I mean, I did kind of forget that, yeah, the semi-final and the final was taking place on the same day, so it totally makes sense to conserve, specifically not even just specifically Kagami really, because Kuroko struggles with the physical aspect of it, right? So this is going to be he's going to be really struggling in the second game, I feel like, now that, specifically because he's being brought on back into this game again. But it's nice to see the sort of second years and them really up their game, because I feel like, yeah, since the show started, it's really focused on Kagami and Kuroko, and they've basically come in and transformed the team in a way, and sort of similarly, I feel that is the case with all of the teams that have gotten a hold of a generation of miracles, right? And their team is just obviously all of their teams have gone from I assume from really good anyway to great now, and Serene's no different. But I mean, they've said before that Serene, even though it's a new school and everything like that, that they were still considered a really good a very decent set of players, and that was back a year ago or whatever. I mean, they make a very good point, is that the whole thing with Kagami and Kuroko being, kind of new kids, they're still getting to terms with each other and how they can like connect up and have that link, and you know, and train that more to the point where, you know, they just keep getting better and better and better, and that partnership just rises and becomes like the cream of the crop kind of thing. But as of right now, in a game like this, it does make sense to have just the second years themselves on the court and doing their thing, because they have the experience together, meaning that they can link up more, sort of like they can be a bit more fluid, I feel like, as opposed to like when Kagami and Kuroko are on the court. Generally it's more of a case of like get it to them, and see what they can do like together, you know. So yeah, I think it's good, especially like considering the you know, because it's like a strategic approach as well. Like it can change the pace of the game and the style of the player, and it means that they don't just have, I mean, they have the ace up their sleeve with Kagami and Kuroko, right? And it's that like sort of thing that's similar with Haikyuu with Kageyama and Hinata, right? Where it's like it's the big play, right? That's the one that like you would call the ace in the hole when you need it most. That's what you need. But it's kind of like the way that they're using the second years in this, I kind of liken it to Sugawara in and to like, you know, a further extent, the third years in general. Like this is a very similar sort of setup anyway, that I feel like, because yeah, I mean, I talked about how Seiho, they seem to, it's like Datako, isn't it? It's like it's a very similar team. It's all about the defense. They're even called the Iron Wall in this as well. So it's like clearly that was like an influence that the mangaka for Haikyuu got, because people were saying that, people let me know that the mangakas are apparently really good friends, you know, and Haikyuu came after Kuroko, I believe. So you can definitely see the influence in some of the things, in some of like the story beats and everything like that, and the teams that they come up against. You can definitely see the similarities. But I mean, yeah, like to some degree, the second year's like doing it themselves kind of thing, and going up against a team that really like they need to get revenge for, is very similar to how like it was like Asahi and Datako, right? But to some extent, it's like it's the whole shifting strategies. I feel like it's the same with Sugawara in Haikyuu, where he rarely gets a chance to be on the court because obviously Kageyama's just that genius setter, right? But Sugawara has the experience, and therefore, you know what I mean, he has so many different like sort of capabilities, Sugawara, that it's, you know what I mean, he's able to switch up the play and like almost change the pace of the game to throw off the opponents. And I feel like that's exactly what was kind of happening here in a way. Now, even though Seiho have managed to sort of keep the lead in a way, even though they were level, and Seiho ended up getting sort of a little bit ahead, which is I guess why in a way Hyuga was looking at the score and being like, they've managed to pull away a bit again, so maybe we do get Kuroko on, right? So yeah, maybe like, you know, they can't beat them on their own, but then again, like in Haikyuu, you still had, you know, Kageyama and Hinata playing in that game against Datako, you know what I mean? So, but I think specifically because in the episode, was it the episodes before this one where they were just before the Seiho game, where they were talking about how like Kuroko and Kagami really wanted to beat these guys to help out their senpais, right? So, you know, I think it makes sense to put Kuroko on, and it's going to be interesting as well seeing him work without Kagami being there. You know, and I don't know if this is really good. I feel like this will affect Kuroko in the game against Shotoku, because I still think we're going to beat Seiho. Now, here's the thing. I'm a bit confused, because so they've got this bracket, right, that obviously leads up to a final, right, which is going to be really Seirin versus Shotoku, right? And the way that Hyuga said it, right, there was a specific bit where he was talking about, you know, I think it was when the first years were getting taken off, and he was basically giving them the reasons why that you need to conserve your energy. We're conserving your energy for when we go up against Shotoku, so that we have a chance against Shotoku, right? And he's talking about how if we beat them, then we get to go to the Championship League. Now, but how can that work? You know what I mean? Because the Championship League it still takes the 3 top teams from Tokyo, right? But I'm a bit confused as to like how. I don't know, because unless it's a case of, well, no, because this is the other thing, right? Is like where was Senshinkan then? Where were they? I mean, here's another thing as well. Like, what determines? I think it's the is it the district that tells you like which block you have to be in? Because Serene were in Block A, right? But they weren't in Block A with They weren't in Block A with Seiho or anything like that, right? Because I'm sure when they brought up the whole, like, the 3 kings, right? That Shotoku, Seiho, and Senshinkan were, like, kind of nowhere near each other. So I would imagine that Serene, Seiho, Senshinkan, and Shotoku were all in different blocks, right? So where the fuck is Senshinkan then? Because they weren't even... Shotoku weren't playing them in the semi-finals. So they must have lost, right? Senshinkan must have lost to I didn't even write down the name of the school. I think it began with a G though. Because all I'm thinking is, right, if we're going by what the map says, they're nowhere near each other. So you would have, the way that I'm thinking about it is, obviously you have, like, let's say you have Block A in the bottom left. That'll be bottom left to you. Block B in the bottom right. Block C in the top left. Block D in the top right. I was almost like assuming the fact that like all of the 3 kings plus Serene were all in their respective blocks, which means that the semi-finals would consist of them teams, which it has consisted of 3 of them, but I don't know where Senshinkan is. Unless for some reason they would be in the same block as they were in the same block as like Seiho or Shutoku, which I don't know, because like I said, I think their blocks were given based upon where they were in Tokyo. It was like you've got Tokyo as a prefecture, right, which consists of the Interhigh, right? So it's the top teams in Tokyo. Although, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's very confusing. Unless, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where Senshinkan is, and it completely. It makes me confused because the only way that the way that I'm thinking about it would be. Oh God, I don't know. I really don't know. Unless they do like a for 3rd place finish, right? So, for instance, like in a World Cup, right, for football, you would have the semi-finals, right? So 4 teams go against each other, right? Whoever wins that goes on to the final, and they play for whoever wins, and wins the whole thing. But then the teams that lost in the semi-finals, those 2 teams would go up against each other to determine who got 3rd. And I guess that's what, like, in my mind, that would make sense, because then it definitely is the top three of all of those blocks that go through to the Inter-High, right? But then I don't know why you would call that the Championship League, because it's not really a separate thing. It's still part of the initial bracket. So it's kind of very confusing how it works, you know? I don't know. I'm sure we'll get it in like, you know, in the upcoming episodes when eventually it all comes to a head with like Shotoku or whatever, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, so other than that, yeah, Kagami getting tired, obviously all the work that he has to put in just to try and get points and keep up with Seiho, like it was all basically put on him. He's starting to get tired. We'll have Seiho obviously making use of that, and Sugawa, like, God, I don't like Sugawa at all. I don't like him at all. He never shuts up, right? He's always fucking flapping his gums, and he never learns. Why doesn't he ever learn? Like, they clearly said beforehand. Like, I thought there was a point in the match where he'd learned to shut his mouth, right? when Kuroko started getting into the game, right? And, you know, they were like level and everything like that, and it was like shut your fucking mouth, because you're giving them every reason to play well against us. Like, the more you keep fucking giving them shit, the more reason you're giving Seirin to get back into the game. You know what I mean? They're gonna go for it that much harder. You know what I mean? They're gonna really want to up their game. So he needs to fucking learn just to keep his mouth shut. And he did it again at the end of the fucking episode, where he's like, "Oh, I wanted to go up against Kagami." It's like, you'll never learn, will he? And then, like, on top of that, I get the idea of like playing sort of tactfully, I suppose. So I can't give him too much shit on this one. Like, you know, I mean, I said during the reaction that, like, well, yeah, Kagami's getting tired, but I mean, Kagami kind of has your number. You know what I mean? Like, he's done you a lot right now. So still, like, if you were talking about it as an individual victory, like, Kagami had him. Like, Sugawa never really found a solution, I suppose, right? So yeah, I mean, there's that, but they're playing tactfully, right? It's like, make use of the fact that they're getting tired, right? And stuff like that. So, yeah. And I mean, Kagami had to be off after the fourth foul. Again, like, I mean, I said during the reaction, I don't know how the third one was a foul. I mean, you're going to have to let me know if you understood what happened. But it looked completely legit to me. Like, he jumped up and knocked the ball away. I don't know how that's a foul. But okay. I figured that was going to get brought up as well. I figured there was going to be, like, it would come to a head where like, Kagami would either get 5 fouls, or it would get to a point where they're just going to have to take him off because they can't, you know what I mean, they can't worry about you know, trying, like, getting him up to a 5th foul. But then again, what would be the difference? Because, you know, like I've said before, like, I don't know the ins and outs of all basketball rules and everything like that. So if he was to get taken off for the 5th foul, does that mean that Seirin would be down a player for the rest of the match? You know? Because, like, I'm trying to liken it to football in a way where there's a yellow card and a red card system, right? Now, you can give fouls away in football, and depending on how serious the tackle is or how serious the foul is, depending on if they have, like, their studs up and they go in like for like a leg breaker challenge, or if they go in 2-footed, then you can get like a red card straight away. Or if the guy's like the last man like back, you can get red cards for certain things. But there's a yellow card system where, like, if the foul is, you know what I mean, like, if it's semi-serious, or if a person's given away so many fouls, they can get a yellow card. And then they can get a second yellow, which equates to a red, and they get sent off. So that's the way I'm kind of thinking about it, and if that is the way that it works, yeah, there would be no choice. You would have to take Kagami off, because if you got the 5th one, then you'd be down a player, and you probably would be fucked at that point. You know, so how many players? It's 5, isn't it? Yeah, so you have 5 players on one team on a court. So they would be down to 4 if Kagami had got 5 fouls. Because then, otherwise, I'm just thinking, well, it wouldn't be any different from subbing him off anyway, right? because they weren't planning on playing him for the rest of the game anyway. But I guess you can't account for like such things as like, let's just happen something really out of the blue happened, like, you know, Kagami got 5 fouls, but you know, because he wasn't getting planned on subbing on anyway, it wouldn't have mattered. Though you have like 4 of your players get injured. You know what I mean? Like, well, you can't sub them on because you got 5 fouls, and then you're kind of forced to just play with what you have. So, you know, I feel like that one's just, I don't know, that one was just me explaining what could be the case, just because I just feel like Kagami was getting taken off anyway, and they weren't planning on playing him the rest of the game, so it wouldn't have made much of it, like, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal if he was just getting subbed off anyway, unless Serene would end up being down to 4 players, and that's all they could play with. So I'm guessing it's that. But you know, confirm that for me in the comments if you'd be so kind. I mean, I guess I could just look it up, I suppose. Actually, should we do that? Should we just look it up? Let's have a look at that. Basketball 5 foul rule, right? A player who commits 5 personal fouls over the course of a 40-minute game, or 6 in a 48-minute game. There's a 48-minute game? What's that? Oh, well, we don't need to worry about that right now. Fouls out and is disqualified for the remainder of the game. A player within 1 or 2 fouls, foul trouble? Yeah, I mean, that just means that they just need to be wary of what they're doing. What happens after? When a team goes over the limit, its opponent is awarded a free throw. I don't know. No, I don't know. Because that wouldn't be that bad, would it? Like if Seren's only punishment for Kagami getting 5 fouls would be that Seiho ended up getting a free throw. I mean, yeah, it's like them getting another point, but is that really the biggest deal in that case? I thought it would have been way worse. I thought, like, you know, it just says, I don't know, it just says that person is removed for the remainder of the game. But that's what I was saying, was that, like, it's not that big a deal because they were planning on taking Kagami off anyway, and you know, they weren't planning on playing him. So it's just down to 4 players. How about that? I don't know, because then it may bring up something. If a player in the game receives his 6th personal foul, and all substitutes have already been disqualified. All right, so okay. Yeah, so they don't go down to 4 players if one person gets sent off, essentially, and be disqualified. But it can happen if it just so happens that all the other players on the bench are ineligible to be on the court. Then you have to play. But, like, although it says in the rulebook, yeah, no team may be reduced to less than 5 players. So I guess if there is ever a point in where a team can only play 4 players, only 4 players are eligible, then I guess they just end the game and the opposing team just gets the win, I suppose. God, I don't know. Fuck. I wish I knew. what the... Because a free throw doesn't seem like that much of a punishment to me. I mean, we've seen Serene, like, you know, they've gotten points back, a lot of points back, you know, so I don't know. Oh well, anyway, it doesn't matter, you know. Let me know in the comments anyway, okay? So yeah, what else? We got some sort of you know, names for certain techniques and whatnot in the game, like a hook shooter. So it's basically overhand, which I like the fact that it was Mitobe that actually, you know, engaged with that, like, and actually did that shot, because I feel like it was almost the opposite, like something you can use to attack to counter that defensive thing of putting somebody off in a shot. So obviously we had a few episodes ago where Mitobe was working with Kagami on, you know, putting somebody off from shooting and not just straight up blocking the shot. And I think it's, you know, it's cool that Mitobe is like, he understands that, and he was the one that was teaching Kagami that, but also the fact he knows how to counter it if you're on the offensive and not the defensive. So basically a hook shooter or a hook shot is over the top. It basically means that like you're putting the ball, like if the opponent's here, you're putting the ball far enough away. If they're trying to block your shot because they've got their hands up, it means that you can have basically an arced shot over the opponent's hands, and hopefully it arcs straight into the net, which is a tough shot to make, I would imagine, because, you know, usually in basketball, unless you're really, you know, you're close up to the net, then generally they will use like one hand to maneuver the ball into the net, whether it's a dunk shot or a sort of like a, what's that one where it's like, where like it's normally underhand, but like you're under the net and you just scoop it up into the net. I mean, speaking of that, that was another one, the scoop shot, but he did that with an opponent in front of him, you know what I mean? So he scooped it over the top, which again, I feel like that's another like technically hard shot to pull off. You know, but yeah, so in the space of like a minute, we had the overhand shot and the underhand shot, you know, so just one after the other. We had a look at like Izuki and what he brings to the table, which it makes complete sense, because like a long time ago now, well, I say a long time ago, it was like episode 2 or 3 or something, where they were basically pointing out the second years, right, and how good they are at certain things. So Hyuga being a clutch shooter, Izuki, it was just mentioned that he was essentially calm, cool, and collected, but it makes sense, like, because he has that composure, the pressure doesn't get to him as much as it will the other players, and it allows him to sort of analyze the court where his players are and where the opponent players are, and make a move based upon that information. You know, I like the fact that when he analysed the court, he passed the ball into almost like between some opponents, like straight down the middle, so that both the opponents went for it and they got in each other's way. I recall, like, again, bringing up IQ, and, you know, I brought up Sugawara before, but it's the same sort of premise. Like, Sugawara, when he would serve, would put the ball, like, you know, because he didn't have a jump serve and he didn't have a jump floater serve. His was just a normal stand serve, but he was able to aim it at a point on the opposing side of the court, knowing that the opponents would have to go for the ball, either two of them go for it together, or putting it in a place where, like, you know, like the setter of their team has to run in front of the person receiving the ball, meaning that it puts that person off. So it's cool. It's really it's nice to be able to get the you know, see what Izuki brings to the table, you know. So yeah, I really like that. It's really cool. I like Kogane. I like him. I like the fact that he's like, you know what I mean? Like, he's a jack of all trades, but he's a master of none. So, you know, he's not going to be like, you know, he's not going to be reliable. But I mean, I said this in a couple episodes ago or something like that. That I feel like he's going to be a one that rarely does anything special, but every so often he'll do something where it's like, yes, Kogane, that was awesome, or like something that like really you weren't expecting, you know what I mean? He's going to be the unexpected one, I feel like. And he even did that this game, where it wasn't anything considerably special that changed the game at all, but he gave everything to try and keep that ball on the court, you know what I mean? To the point where he ended up getting a like concussion because he went backwards over the bench. You know, but it's that just like mentality, I feel like, which just lends me to kind of like him a bit. But I like the fact that the partnership that he had with that number 9, Suchi is his name, that's good at rebounds. So he's just like, it's like a loop of just giving the ball, he misses, it rebounds, Tsuchi gets it, gives it back to Kogane, misses. You know what I mean? It's just funny. But yeah, I like Kogane. He's like an energetic little puppy, isn't he? So yeah, really cool. And yeah, I mean that's all I've got. So yeah, I feel like next episode will be. Did we see what like where they were in the game? Are they in the last quarter yet or not? Because I was just going to say, like, I feel like next episode could be the game where we win it, but I'm excited to see what Kuroko is going to do without Kagami on the court. So yeah, pretty decent discussion for this episode, though. Yeah, I enjoyed that. But yeah, that's all I've got. So thank you everyone for watching. In the description below, I have links to certain things. One of them is the Discord, so you can get yourself over there if you wish. And I also have a link to my Patreon as well. There's a bunch of different tiers and rewards on there, like early access, of course. $5 a month gives you access to shows a week early. And I also have full length on there as well for $10 a month. If you do want to watch any of these in full and not just the 10-minute version, then that is an option there for you as well. There's also other tiers where you can pay to have a show reacted to as well. So if you want me to react to a show, go have a look at those tiers, see what they offer. But that's all I've got. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.